Say it with me now. If these players get traded before this video is public on YouTube, then I apologize. But in today's commentary, we are diving into Frank and Frank Seravalli's radio hit on Canucks Central with Sat and Bick from yesterday evening. Canucks Central had themselves a pretty great show, from Ryan Johnson's press conference to my guy, one of my favorite hockey YouTubers and really YouTubers in general, Will Scouch, making an appearance talking draft stuff, and then Frank Seravalli's huge NHL trade update, which involves some Vancouver Canucks names such as Jake DeBrusk and Filip Hronek, and that also talks about the bigger fish in the league. Jason Robertson, Zach Werenski. These guys are talked about and broken down in Seravalli's latest hit, which was summarized by Canucks News Summaries. Thank you so much to Canucks News Summaries. Their work is very greatly appreciated. Let's dive into some of the things that Frank Seravalli spoke about in regards to trade talk. He speaks about improving your team. The only way to improve your team is to trade for players. Players are recognizing that they have an opportunity to ask for trades to specific destinations because the increased cap space allows for more room. If the Dallas Stars trade Jason Robertson, they are going to need to go after a forward. And finally, without Dylan Larkin's list expanding and the Red Wings being unwilling to consummate a trade that isn't on their own terms, it may take a while for that situation to be resolved. Heck, why not toss in another name for the fun of it? Dylan Larkin and the situation in Detroit was never going to be an easy fix. Sorry, Dylan, you're not like Quinn Hughes. You're not like Brady Tkachuk. You're not like Austin Matthews. You're not at that caliber of talent, unfortunately. Okay, maybe Brady, but then again, you don't have that contract disparity that makes it kind of a necessity to trade you at this time. Dylan Larkin is signed till 2030. If he doesn't get traded, then he just has to play. That's it. So if he really wants to get traded, he should open up his list, and that seems to be what Steve Yzerman was talking about during his presser the other day as well. It's the ugly truth about the Red Wings and Dylan Larkin, so Seravalli's kind of reiterating that same point. Moving forward, though, Seravalli also talks about Dallas and Jason Robertson. The Stars can re-sign him, and Robertson wants to stay there. But he also wants to make $14 million AAV. The Stars, however, view Mikko Rantanen as their MVP, and their second-best player is Miro Heiskanen. At some point, other interested teams need to get their rosters and cap situation figured out. They will not wait forever for Jason Robertson to be available. Now, if you take a look at that Mikko Rantanen, yeah, I'd say he's probably the best player on Dallas, but he's making $12 million a year. Does Jason Robertson really have the right to go out there and say, hey, pay me $2 million more than the guy that y'all all think is the best player on the team? I don't really know. Sure, it's possible, like, if he really wanted to get that money and Dallas really was like, all right, well, we just want to keep you, doesn't matter how much you cost, we'll do everything we can to get it done. They could do it, it's just they don't really seem to be willing to go that high. Other teams may be. Robertson got that $15 million AAV offer from Seattle, but he turned it down. So it really does seem like Robertson wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants the high dollar amount, but he also wants to be on a team that's good enough to win. You can't do both, man. And if you do both, then color me shocked. I don't think the Dallas Stars are going to go out there and pay Jason Robertson $14 million AAV. It just seems like one of these parties is going to have to acquiesce in order for this partnership to continue. The salary cap. The increases might eventually level out, but because it's been artificially kept low, there's a lot of catching up to do to get to a leveling out point. And once it starts to level out, that's when a new expansion team will be added. Lots of new revenue into the NHL. Man, that's really exciting, honestly. You think about it, the NHL is already expanding to 84 games a season, not 82. Sure, it's a little tougher on the players and their families, but it makes for some more games and statistics, right? Okay, that was a really, selfish thing that I just said. I take it back, sorry. Shorten the preseason, how about that? Anyways, there's a conversation by Seravalli on Zach Werenski and the Blue Jackets as well. Columbus are a very reactive franchise instead of being proactive. The Werenski situation has been simmering since April, and Seravalli doesn't know why they waited so long to address it. Werenski loves it in Columbus, but he wants to win. And as we've seen, based off of some of the other commentary from insiders all over the league, Zach Werenski might not actually be interested in re-signing with Columbus either. Therefore, it stands to test that he might actually get traded. His $9.5 million AAV deal expires in 2028, so he ain't actually extension eligible until a year from now. But based off of the way things are trending, he might actually get traded, within the next few days, to be honest. Really depends. Moving on, though, there are some conversations on Vancouver. It's a Vancouver radio station that this conversation took place, so of course they're going to talk about it. Seravalli says a Jake DeBrusk trade is very much a possibility. Teams will realize how much value his contract represents after free agency. Oh yeah, baby, Jake DeBrusk is making $5.5 million. That's really cheap compared to some of these other guys. You really think Jason Robertson is $9 million more talented than Jake DeBrusk? I don't know about that. What's the difference between these two guys? 20 goals a year? It's not that bad. Now, sure, 20 goals, 50 points, $9 million in difference there monetarily. Is that something that you'd feel comfortable with? I don't know. But Jake DeBrusk making $5.5 whilst providing offense and scoring on the worst team in the NHL, that is good. I think there's a lot to be rectified in the future of Jake DeBrusk's career as long as he goes over to a team that can actually feed him the puck more consistently and can produce better results. There also is a conversation on Elias Pettersson. Seravalli is a lot less optimistic about a Pettersson trade now compared to last week. He believes the Canadiens in Montreal had an understanding with the Canucks that if they needed to add salary to reach the floor, they could acquire all of Gallagher's contract, and that they waited on the Canucks to tell the Canadiens what they wanted. Seravalli infers that the Canadiens returned to the Canucks during the day of the Gallagher trade and said that they weren't anticipating being too far below the cap floor, so they didn't need to take on all of Gallagher's deal. The best push to trade Pettersson was around the draft. Doesn't seem like that is as prominent anymore. So I guess we can put that idea to bed. Also, it seems like Manny Malhotra, the Sedins, Ryan Johnson, they want to give themselves an opportunity to try to revive Pettersson their own way, rather than rewiring his brain and having Miller bully him in the locker room. That doesn't seem like it was productive at all. There are conversations on free agency and players that could be available there. And then there's this talk on Filip Hronek that I wanted to dive into as well. Seravalli doesn't anticipate a Hronek trade. The Canucks view him as a big part of their leadership core. Seravalli also sees Hronek as a future captain. A big part of fixing the culture in Vancouver is finding players that want to be there. And that checks out. You talk about Brendan Gallagher, you talk about Caleb Malhotra, you talk about all these new guys coming into the organization, and legitimately top-tier guys on the team already. Filip Hronek is pretty much the cream of the crop when it comes to that. Somebody who took over the power play, who provided a leadership presence in the locker room, and who just wants to be with the team. I get that you can say it was an ill-advised move to not trade him away when Bowen Byram went for the 4th overall pick and Nemec was going for a 1st and all these other things. But Vancouver is not throwing all their young guys to the wolves immediately. They need to insulate these players with veterans. And their perception around the NHL seems to be improving because of this. Agents and other management have given a refreshing vibe coming from Vancouver, according to Frank Seravalli. Ryan Johnson has had a lot of conversations around the league, and he comes across as a very clear-eyed, straight shooter. So, with that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about all these Canucks and NHL trade updates from Frank Seravalli, from Jason Robertson to Zach Werenski, Jake DeBrusk, Filip Hronek, Elias Pettersson, and Dylan Larkin? How do you feel about all this? Let me know in the comments section below. Quick discussions, quick thoughts, lots of players to dive into. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.